Hey folks, just wanted to let you know the sound quality this week is not exactly what we would like it to be. Sorry about that. Also, about halfway through, there's a helicopter. I don't know what we can do about it, but just to warn you, sorry about that. And as always, thanks for listening. There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you?
It was raining in the city. The rain came down like liquid precipitation dropped when clouds become oversaturated with water droplets. The light came in through my office window like photons partially refracted by panes of glass and illuminated the label on the bottle of bourbon on my desk, which contained words that described the contents of the bottle and the level of alcohol that was contained there. Okay, look, I'm not good at these hard-boiled similes, okay? That's why I'm not a private detective. Everyone knows private detectives have to smoke and drink and use lots of cool similes when they describe things. Well, I don't. My name's Max Levine. I host a podcast. And we're just getting started with our series, Walk the Dark Street, as we dive into the genre of film noir like two big diving things. Damn it! Over there...
The description's more like film moist.
Yeah. Over there, looking like a guy sitting in a chair, is my partner, Mike Luce. Got any cool similes for us, Mike? Because I sure don't.
Yeah, don't.
That's not a simile, and you know it.
No, it's a metaphor. It isn't.
No, it really isn't. A metaphor. What's a metaphor? It's where cows graze. Oh, thank you. I'll be here all day.
That's a pity.
Yes. Well, I can't get out of this chair.
Tip your cows like you tip your waitstaff. No, wait, not like
what?
That.
Tip 15 to 20% of the cow?
That's not how you tip cows.
I didn't think so.
Do you want to start over?
No! This was painful enough the first time.
I know, I'm here.
But before we get to the true pain of the movie, we have our poll question.
Wait. You didn't even tell us what the movie was.
It's a secret.
No, it's not!
Yes, it is. I'm not going to tell anyone. You have to use your detective skills, folks, to figure out what the movie is before the end of the show, or this bomb goes off.
All I'm going to tell you is that Max is about to get it with the candlestick in the library.
Oh, I know this one. Park Place. No, crap.
The name of the film is...
Hungry Hippos? No.
Oh, fired! Do you see what I have to do? 258 episodes of this.
Yep, 258 episodes. Maybe we'll reach 259. But, yes, the movie this week is 1973's Robert Altman picture, The Long Goodbye. So get ready for some serious mumbling. But before we get to... we got a poll question.
Poll question.
Last week we asked you... Sorry!
Stop mumbling!
I've been Altmanized.
Do you want me to just talk in the background? That way nobody can understand a certain thing we say?
No, we have to talk at the same time. Well,
I like this while we're going
exactly.
this way. Keep talking about the movie, and then you go.
Yeah.
There, you've experienced a Robert Altman film.
Yep, you never have to watch one. But we asked you last week, what is your favorite film noir? Val Coons, who knows a thing or two about film noir, or at least radio noir,
Cue
said,
footsteps.
Wow, this is a tough question. It was hard.
At the
There are
beach.
so many that are on my top 25 list. Top 25? Wow. I love To Have and Have Not for its sexual electricity and the strong female lead character, Marie Brown. I love Raymond Chandler's Murder My Sweet. She liked Raymond Chandler murdering her sweet? Okay.
It's a
book.
Yeah. It's a movie. It's a dessert topping. It's a floor wax.
It's my daughter, my sister.
Never going to get through this movie.
No. The Big Sleep and The Maltese Falcon for the intricate storylines. Then there's Double Indemnity, considered by many to be the first noir film. So dark and fatal from the beginning, but you have to watch to the end to see just how bad it'll get. Not bad, I'm assuming, but there are many smaller, less-known films that kind of get lost in the shuffle but are worth seeking out. One of my very favorite genres, in case you hadn't already figured that out. We had a hint, yes.
Yeah.
Tyler Stewart says Chinatown, I think. Tyler, is there someone there? Can you not speak freely? Cough twice.
Watch that left nostril.
George Saulnier. Impossible to say. Well,
good night.
I can't say anything. The Maltese Falcon of the 1940s is literally flawless. It even corrected the flaws of the book. That's true. Not technically noir by era, but I think so. But it's the template and final boss by which all others are judged. I'm going to recommend a noir I love with a rare sympathetic female lead, No Man of Her Own, from 1950. I don't know that one.
I don't either.
There are a few films with that title. The film stars Barbara Stanwyck, who we see an impression of in this movie, in a truly wonderful performance. Also famed stage actress in the 1910s, Jane Cowell, who is subtly heartbreaking. The only real flaw are some terrible voiceover, oh dear, but otherwise it shines in the confident directing hands of the underrated Michael Leeson, one of my favorites.
Huh.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, maybe we should add that to the list.
Yeah. Bruce Herr Jr., Sunset Boulevard. Norma's sheer hubris fuels the insane train wreck that the story develops from. I can't stop watching. Well, we have the most extraordinary coincidence to report.
See our entire episode last week on Sunset Boulevard.
Benjamin Carl says The Big Sleep. Oh, yeah. That may be coming up 19. And they're not just talking about Mike's presentation. Amazing, fast-paced, witty dialogue. Definitely not Mike. The repartee keeps up with you, and you never get bored watching it. Screenplay co-written by William Faulkner. Actually, he adapted it for the screen from Raymond Chandler. Yeah, so hard to picture William Faulkner doing screen adaptations, but he did. Matthew Reisman says Dark City. Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I would not even have thought of that one. That's really good. A science fiction noir.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. Maybe we should add that to the list, too.
We should. Adam Mark, our scholar, quote, last night I dreamt I went to Manderley again. Oh, wow. Oh, I know that line. Crap. With that infamous and haunting opening line, you are brought into the gothic romance of Rebecca, 1940. Oh. Yes, Hitchcock's only Best Picture Oscar winner. It's an amazing, rare early entry in the film noir genre, featuring a young Joan Fontaine and a pre-Sir Laurence Olivier. Little tortured phrasing, but nice. The protagonist, an unappreciated lady's maid, meets a grieving widower in Monte Carlo. They surprise themselves in finding true affection in each other and soon fall in genuine love. Brought to the English family country estate Manderley as his bride, the young woman, always unnamed. Oh, I forgot that. I've seen this movie. I didn't remember she doesn't have a name. Finds the household staff and townfolk still enamored with the titular character Rebecca de Winter, who has drowned in a boating accident years before. They all recall Rebecca as perfect, sophisticated, graceful, worldly. In every way, the protagonist is perceived as not. The protagonist seeks to win over everyone and to comfort her new husband, who upon returning to the house seems increasingly haunted and mournful for the dead, and always unseen, Rebecca. Nary a flashback or even a picture. It's a masterful cinematic decision. Rebecca exists only in your mind's eye and will refuse to leave. The protagonist has hope she will eventually win over everyone, new relatives, servants, townfolks, who she perceives as well-meaning and earnest. But all is not as it seems. What appears to be a melodramatic romance becomes a hard-nosed drama of crime and intrigue, with characters who really surprise you with their choices. I pointedly refuse to spoil this film for your listeners. It contains one of the best cinematic twists ever, surpassed only, and just barely, by The Sixth Sense. Wow. Incredibly acted and written and masterfully shot by Hitchcock, earning him a Best Cinematography Oscar to boot, this film haunts me to this day. Well, this one may have to go on the list.
Well, now I'm having another thought. What if maybe we should consider extending this series a little bit?
Yeah,
a couple episodes or so. Because they're giving us such great suggestions, which, spoiler, the last three have not been on our list.
Yes, Rebecca is on our list.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes. Yep, but yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to contain this particular genre in just 8 episodes. No, we'll get back to that. Yeah. Regan McStravick says Blade Runner. See our episode on Blade Runner. Sure, another science fiction noir.
Yep.
Dave, who actually posted this on his own feed and then very courteously posted it back on this post.
Oh.
Obviously, M defines the genre. It's also a great letter, as it is used in all of the important words. Max, Mike, and movies. Well said, Dave. Brilliantly put. So who can't love the letter M? This whole episode brought to you by the letter M. It is dark, gritty, and heavy. The letter M?
The movie.
Yes. Not sure if it's a favorite, but it's an amazing film, and as noir as one can get, and I seem to watch it once a decade. I have never seen this. I keep meaning to.
I think it's Peter Lorre, isn't it?
I think so. A Touch of Evil is also high on my list of real film noir, but I don't often think to myself, gee, I'd like to watch Touch of Evil again. Yeah, we did that one, and I get that completely.
Yeah.
If happy films like To Have and Have Not qualify due to dialogue, femme fatale, and an anti-hero protagonist, sure, then that has to be my favorite, as it is a movie that I just love. But I think real noir has to be urban and depressing and have little or no cheer to it. Sadly, he's kind of right.
Yeah.
If you are looking for Japanese noir, there's Japanese noir? Cool.
Yeah.
I regularly watch A Cult Is My Passport. Oh, wow. If noir can be in color, which actually presages a question I want to ask, then I would put in a word for the films Tokyo Drifter, on our list, and also for Yellow Lines, both of which are favorite Japanese films. Oh, and Chinatown. Had to get that one in there too, Dave. Very nice. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I love those long, thought-out answers.
We have a newcomer, at least to the comments, Dalton McGrath. Oh. And I'm going to read his whole email because he actually emailed us.
Oh, he used us at Max Mike Move. Oh, I'm giving it away.
He did. Well done, Dalton. Hi, Max and Mike. Long-time listener, first-time caller here. We love to hear this. I would say my favorite noir movie would be Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh.
Whoa! The contrast between the dark, seedy noir side and the zany cartoon side complement each other perfectly. Dang. I would not have thought of that, but yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly spoofing that genre. I mean, if you want to be really pedantic, you could say, well, it has a happy ending, so it can't be noir, but...
Yeah, but it's the tale of greed, sex, and murder. I mean, that they even say that.
Yeah, see our entire episode on Roger Rabbit, and by the way, there's some really gruesome scenes in there.
There really are! I mean, just the scene of the shoe being dissolved still haunts me.
Well, how about what's his name? Not the mayor. What Christopher?
Judge Doom.
Judge Doom. Yeah, his death. I mean, if that didn't cause some nightmares, then they didn't do their work properly.
Yep. So. But thank you, Dalton. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And of course, from the lands to the far north, as he works in his terrifying genetic experiments with moose and beaver, Vince says, I could list 100 film noir that I love, but being the polite Canadian he is, he does not.
Oh, sorry.
Doesn't do all 100, yep. It grew out of the German Expressionism, which is maybe my first favorite style. And this, Touch of Evil, The Third Man, Pepe Le Moco, which Vince had to remind me is actually a Carol Burnett sketch. Such a list. I didn't know. I thought it was. I wrote back and said, "Wow, I never heard of Pepe Le Moco." He's going, Max, it's a Carol Burnett sketch. Such a list. I have a soft spot for Kubrick's first film, Killer's Kiss.
Oh.
Oh, I don't know that one at all. There is this tense scene at the end in a mannequin factory that is so creepy. Oh, time to feed the penguins and create a moose-beaver hybrid. He's tampering in God's domain, don't you know?
At least he's doing it in Canada.
Yes. Well, thank you all. Mike, what is your favorite film noir?
I mean, if we're being broad enough, I'm going to have to go with Blade Runner. It's one of my absolute favorite films, but it has to be the right cut. It has to be the quote-unquote director's cut from 1992.
Oh, you don't love sushi, cold fish.
No.
That's what my...
No, and even Harrison Ford hated doing that. If you can find some outtakes where he's going, really, while he's recording it. It's the second best outtakes to Frozen Peas or Duke Dickum. He's a duke. Look them all up if you don't know.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Blade Runner. It has pretty much all of the criteria you need. It just happens to be set in a future which is now the past. It also has some really interesting questions on what is human, what is identity, what does that all mean, which are things that are starting to pop up in the news again, I'm just saying. So I do love Maltese Falcon. I've watched it many times. I think there's an argument that you could make that Casablanca certainly edges towards noir.
It's got some elements, but I would argue against that.
I wouldn't. It's only because of the happy ending. There's
patriotism in it. You don't get patriotism in film noir.
Yeah, but the patriotism's for France. Who cares? But also, I just was picturing the alternate ending to Casablanca where they get on the plane, it flies up, it gets shot down, it crashes, and then Nelson pops up and goes, ha ha!
Ah, yes, the director's cut of Casablanca, yeah.
But how about you? This was my question. So what is your answer to? What's your favorite?
I got to go with The Big Sleep, the Bogey and Bacall movie. I love that movie so much. Oddly enough, the thing that always stands out to me, it expresses a problem I've always had. I don't like orchids, just the flower. And one of the characters in there, I think he's the colonel or the major. He's only in one scene, but he's in a hothouse, and he says, "Yeah, I hate orchids. Their flesh is like the flesh of men." Like, yes! That's it. You summed it up. If you ever touch an orchid, it's like touching human skin. It's creepy.
No, it's not that it's like the flesh of men. It eats the flesh of men.
Yes, it's actually, it likes the flesh of men.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Who doesn't? Well, that was cool. But do we have another question?
Yes, but I just do want to say thank you to everybody for those
especially
great
our
answers.
New person, Dalton.
Yes,
McGrath.
welcome, Dalton. And long-time listener, though. So we love to hear that. These were terrific and gave us a lot more to work with, too.
Yeah.
But you have done so well. Next assignment, Mr. Bond, is to die. No, to answer this one. Do you think film noir works better with black and white movies, or does color not make a difference? Yeah, because like this week's movie is a film noir. It's in color. Does it have to be black and white to really be film noir, despite the fact that, noir is right there in the name?
We won't point out that I asked that question during last week's episode, but that's all right.
Yes, but you just asked me, and now I want to ask other people.
That was my mistake.
Exactly. Let's ask people who matter.
You matter, Max.
And we will tell you at the end of the show how to answer this question, or we'll make you figure it out yourself in Marlowe-esque fashion.
No, we
That involves a lot of smoking, so maybe don't do that.
Oh, yeah, there is a lot of that.
Yes, there is. But now, trivia.
The facts.
First off, let me reiterate what Mike tells you at the very beginning of the show. There are going to be a lot of spoilers. Not so much in the trivia, but in our discussion, because there's no way to talk about this movie without talking about the ending and about a bunch of other stuff that happens in it, so be warned. I mean, really, if you haven't seen the movie, go see it now. You done? Good, we're still here.
This is a short movie.
Yeah. But Robert Altman, by the way, you may have noticed, has decided the camera should never stop moving and put it on a dolly. Yeah, the camera movements sort of counter the actions of the character, so the audience is supposed to feel like a voyeur.
But you know what? I didn't notice it. And this is not like, what was that horrible film we saw recently where was it Deep Impact? Yeah. The camera just never stopped swinging around, and it's just, that was bad.
This is how you use, watch Altman, he knows how to use a camera dolly.
Yeah, we'll be coming back to the cinematography.
Yep. Elliott Gould has said, as he is the star of the movie, by the way, he plays Phillip Marlowe, which admittedly, not my first choice. I wouldn't have thought, you know who I want for Phillip Marlowe? The guy from MASH, Elliott Gould.
I want a tall Jew. That's what I want.
That's right, because Phillip Marlowe sounds to me like a tall, skinny Jew.
Yeah.
He said that as long as he is physically able, he holds out hopes that he could reprise the role of Phillip Marlowe. He has a screenplay entitled It's Always Now, which is based on Raymond Chandler's story The Curtain. The Chandler estate sold him the rights to the story for $1.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to get anybody to make it?
Apparently not.
Huh.
Now, this movie was a big deal for Elliott Gould. He had not worked for 2 years before this. He had just hit his stride. He had just been in MASH, which made him a superstar, but apparently he was kind of on the outs with the industry because of his erratic behavior on the set of a movie called A Glimpse of Tiger, which is, of course, one of Mike's favorite movies.
Don't think I've ever heard of it.
Yes, you have. It's just you know it by a different title. What's Up, Doc?
Oh!
Yeah. This was, now, Glimpse of Tiger was a very different movie and a different script, but they retooled it into What's Up, Doc?
Good thing.
Yeah, but apparently he was just, he couldn't handle the sudden success. I wouldn't want to say, but it's possible a few drugs may have been involved, possibly a little of the drinky. But
drinky. That's a noir term you may not have never heard before.
Sit down, sweetheart. Have a drinky.
It's like British noir.
Bogey says that a lot.
I'm Detective Tittles.
But Altman insisted on casting Gould, and this was basically a comeback for him.
Huh.
The music in this movie is very interesting.
Yeah.
Except for the song Hooray for Hollywood, which opens and closes the movie. All the music in this movie is one song.
Yeah.
It's the theme song, The Long Goodbye, which is written by Johnny Mercer, who also wrote Hooray for Hollywood, and this kid that they gave a job to, Johnny Williams.
He's not Johnny in this. He's just John. He's trying to break away from Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, but this was by Johnny Mercer, who was songwriting royalty. And the title song shows up in various guises in the film, including on the radio, as a dirge played at a funeral by a Mexican marching band, and even as the first few notes of the Wade's doorbell.
Yeah.
Everything.
We'll come back to that.
Sterling Hayden, who plays Roger Wade, the Hemingway-esque writer, wrote all his own scenes, and he improvised a lot of his dialogue.
Okay.
Marlowe always wears a tie with American flags on it. You can't see this, though, in the movie. It looks plain red because the cinematographer, I'm going to get their name wrong, Vilmos Zsigmond's post-flashing techniques. Gould also smokes in every single scene.
Sometimes more than once.
Yeah, constantly smoking. The film is in the closing credits, the film's dedicated to Dan Blocker. If you don't know, that's Hoss Cartwright. It states, with special remembrance for Dan Blocker, Altman, and I didn't know this, he directed a lot of the early episodes of Bonanza.
Oh.
Yeah, which is why, they're always mumbling.
Hey, Ed, how come I'm older than you?
Gee, I don't know. He had originally cast Dan Blocker in the role of Roger Wade, because he was another big, imposing figure, but he died before filming commenced.
Oh.
The opening scene with Phillip Marlowe and his cat, where he's faking, he's actually can't find the cat food brand that the cat likes, so he buys a different one, swaps the label, and tries to fool the cat.
He doesn't swap the label. He actually goes and finds an empty can in the garbage and scoops it from one can to another, puts the lid back on, and then lets the cat in because he's afraid the cat has seen what he's doing.
Yeah, this came from a real story of Robert Altman's friend who told him about a cat that only ate one type of cat food, and he sees it as a comment on friendship, which kind of is a kind of theme in this. To compensate for the harsh light of Southern California, Robert Altman gave the film a sort of soft pastel look, reminiscent of old postcards in the 1940s. That's why it kind of looks sort of washed out. In the short documentary Rip Van Marlowe, there was a deleted scene referred to. There's only a still of it, wasn't filmed, with Robert Altman, Elliott Gould, and Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen was apparently supposed to have had a cameo as Sam Spade going up in an elevator with Marlowe.
Oh, I think that's a good thing. Yeah, I think that's a good thing they left that out.
Yeah. There are not one but two future superstars who make uncredited cameos in this movie.
I know one of them.
Yeah, one of them is, especially when Gould is saying he's going to tell the governor about the cops. Well, a future governor is there with him in a room. Arnold Schwarzenegger himself is one of Augustine's thugs.
Yeah, we'll come back to him.
Yes, big swollen fellow, has no dialogue. This is, by the way, he does. He looks like he's been pumped full of air. This is his second film appearance ever after Hercules in New York, which was dubbed, by the way.
He played New York, right?
Yes. But did you catch the other superstar?
No, I did not.
The other superstar, and this is his first appearance in film, was Morris the cat.
Okay, it
That is
actually
Elliott
occurred
Gould's
to me.
cat.
I wondered.
Yep. This was his first finicky routine. It is his first film appearance ever. And then he went on to take the world by storm, get hooked on catnip, and do a behind-the-music video.
Oh, Nine Lives. Oh. I want to say that the original voice was Robert Wagner, but I'm not sure if that's true.
I don't know. To me, it was the cat. As far as I'm concerned, the cat was talking. The screenwriter, Lee Brackett, who adapted the Chandler book, had real problems with its plot, which he felt was riddled with cliches, and faced the choice of either making it a period piece or updating it. She clearly updated it. She also changed the ending, which Altman not only loved the new ending so much, he put it in his contract that if he did the film, they couldn't change the ending she had written.
Oh.
Both Brackett and Altman point out that, Sterling Hayden and Elliott Gould's dialogue during the drinking scenes was improvised. That's because Hayden was drunk and stoned most of the time.
Well, he's just in character.
Yeah. Apparently, Sterling Hayden, in addition to the drinky, also enjoyed a little of the wheedly deedly.
Meanwhile, back in Britain. Everything's so cute
right
over there.
Yes. Lashings of ginger beer for everyone. There's a lot of other stuff, but I think we'll stop there.
Yes, but
I
would hope that you would tell us the dark, dark story.
Oh, yes.
Not using any of your noir terminology.
Aww.
Like drinky.
But I'm going to need to get a drinky to get through this.
Yeah, we're going to have a murder poo, okay? So...
Phillip Marlowe is your basic private dick in the City of Angels, who mostly seemed concerned with getting his finicky cat the right kind of cat food and living next door to a commune of naked hippie chicks. Like you do. Could be worse. One night around 3 a.m., an old friend, Terry Lennox, shows up and asks Marlowe to drive him to Mexico, no questions asked. And thus, with a simple act of friendship, Marlowe ends up being detained by the police for 3 days, threatened by a psychotic Jewish gangster, and investigating the missing Hemingway-esque husband of a beautiful woman living in Malibu with a security guard who does bad movie star impressions, and an incredibly creepy doctor who runs a sanatorium. Marlowe spends a lot of his time baffled by what's happening around him, but as always the answer is tobacco, and his constant smoking combined with some actual detecting skill lets him put together all the pieces to form a very disquieting picture that ends in a rather surprising confrontation. Sadly, we never see Marlowe's cat again.
The film.
Yep, honestly, my first line of my notes is, Kitty, time for din-din.
Oh, it's my third note, but it's cats make every movie better.
They do. The cat doesn't even get a name.
Nope.
It's just my cat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say that scene of him going out to the supermarket at 2 a.m. and the lengths to which he tries to, quote-unquote, fool the cat, thinking, well, they use their sight more than they use their smell or their taste, so the cat won't. Yeah, he basically just tries to pull one over on the cat, and the cat literally leaves the film.
He tries to make cat food for the cat. He mixes something up, and the cat literally pushes it onto the floor.
Well, at that point, it was a thing on top of another thing, and that breaks cat law.
Yeah,
So,
but again, I can see what Altman meant, because in a way, that's sort of the essence of this movie. Marlowe is trying to help out a friend, and all it does is backfire on him.
yeah, and I suppose that the friend does leave, although in this case, he drives him to Mexico, or at least the border. So, sort of, I didn't see that symbology so heavily, but
Yeah.
I did think it was a hell of a funny opening scene, because it was just like, really, I'm sitting there going, well, it's not going to work. And B, that the fact that he thinks it's going to work, and then see
It's
that the
just
cat
kind of
literally
sad.
walks out of the movie and never comes back.
The thing I left out of the plot recap is when he drives his friend Terry to Mexico, a few days later it turns out Terry's wife has been murdered, and he's the prime suspect, and then Terry is reported having committed suicide down in Mexico.
Yeah.
Also, it turns out the LAPD can just lock you up for 3 days for no reason. I have no trouble believing that, by the way.
I was going to say, yeah. It was also fairly obvious that they knew who he was, and that he'd probably had dealings with him before, because that's what private eyes do.
Yep.
So I didn't have any issue with that, too. Do we want to start with the cast? It's not going to take long, because quite honestly, it's an Altman film, so there's a lot of people, but most of them aren't very noteworthy because they don't have a lot to do, or I've never heard of them.
They aren't around a lot, yeah. So,
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Elliott Gould.
Not who I would have picked for Phillip Marlowe.
No, but I think he pulls it off. He's a very 70s kind of detective.
I was surprised. I'm not generally a fan of Elliott Gould because there's something sort of acty about him. Like he always feels a little bit like he's playing a part to me. And I was not expecting... He can be funny, but and actually I do like him in Ocean's 11, but there's still something acty about him. There's something to me that
terrific in MASH. He's on like 5 different films with Robert Altman.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about Altman too. But here, I think the only thing that hampers his performance, and there's a point where he actually is fairly wooden, is the overdubbing. And this is a common problem in 70s film. Most of the dialogue is looped or recorded later. And you can't match their performance because you're in a booth, for one thing. You're often alone. And it's nothing like what you're doing at the time. And it, unfortunately, really hurts the performances. Because the times when he's not dubbed, I think he's doing a really good job. And I was surprised. I didn't think he had that kind of character in him. But... yeah, I think he does great, especially for adapting it for the 70s, because when it first started, they're playing Hooray for Hollywood. It's like, oh, is it going to be like in the 40s, or are we doing a Paper Moon or something?
I'm still not sure why they chose that song. I mean, apart from the fact it's another Johnny Mercer song. Or that they're like trying to pay tribute to the fact that it's in effect a 1940s type of movie being done in the 70s. By the way, so is his car. You notice that? His car was in the 40s.
Well, but the song is all about how nothing's real, right?
Yeah,
and all you need
true.
is a little makeup and stuff, and you can be something that you're not.
Just need a good-looking pan, yeah.
And I'm guessing it's hearkening back to the time when the story was actually written. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Because, as we'll talk about, Altman is not exactly short on using symbolism. So, who next?
Yeah, what about Sterling Hayden, Roger Wade, the I'm not Ernest Hemingway writer?
I mean...
even the beard, man.
The only thing they were missing were a bunch of cats, because he was known for having a lot of cats in his little house there down in Key West. But I don't know how you could think he wasn't Hemingway, because he was. Yeah. The drinking, the later career, the thoughts of suicide, or...
the cross-dressing.
Huh?
Yeah, well,
weren't there rumors that Hemingway was gay? I can't remember.
I don't remember if he was gay, but he did apparently like to wear women's clothes.
Oh, and I bet he looked great in them. He's pretty much exactly what you'd expect. I don't know anything about that actor.
I think he does a great job. The only thing I can tell you right off... well, first off, we've seen him in The Godfather. He was the corrupt police captain.
Okay.
Who breaks Michael's jaw. And if you've seen Dr. Strangelove, he's General Jack Ripper, the guy who goes crazy and launches the nuclear attack on Russia.
Ah, okay. It's been a long time.
Have you ever heard of fluoridation, mandrake?
Okay.
He's great in that. I think he just nails it. I think he's perfect in this, and I think even all the improv and the randomness of some of the dialogue really works.
He's fine. I think there's a couple of points where it's like, now that you tell me he was actually drunk on set, it's like, okay, that's why he mumbles and stumbles his way off set. But it felt like it had been improv, so I kind of wasn't surprised.
And what about the one female main character, Eileen Wade, played by Nina Van Pallant?
I think she does a great job because I never know where she's coming from. And as we'll see in this film, you're not meant to know what's going on. We're sort of in the position of Phillip Marlowe, but it's a very twisty plot. And we have no idea. I'm going to say I had no idea she had any part of it. But apparently she kind of does. We'll get back to that. So I don't know her from anything else, but I think she did fine.
Yeah. And what about Rydell? I think his name's David Rydell, who plays Marty Augustine.
He's really odd. Interesting.
He's freaking terrifying.
Yeah. The things he does, there's one very brutal scene that I felt something was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to be that. Mm-hmm. And although the blood effects in this film are, let's face it, pretty terrible.
Yeah.
The brutality and suddenness of what he does is
and the
very
madness
shocking.
Of it. It's like, this is what I do to someone I love. You I don't even like.
Yeah. Except, well, we'll come back to that. He does fine. He's really interesting. And then things really start to taper off, except for one very odd casting choice.
Are you talking about Henry Gibson?
Yes. Henry Gibson is known as a comedic actor. I think his first major appearance that I saw was on a Dick Van Dyke Show episode where he reads these little poems that he was known for, these funny little humorous poems. He was also on Laugh-In. Mm-hmm. I think there was one point he was, quote-unquote, running for president on Laugh-In.
I think that was Pat Paulson.
Oh, you're right, Pat Paulson. But he's generally this little unassuming comedic actor with, I have to admit, one of the worst comb-overs in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But he's really sinister in this.
He's so creepy in this and just kind of scary. Watching him, and Henry Gibson is what, 3 feet tall or something? Watching him slap Sterling Hayden, who is, I don't know if he's 6'5" like the character.
He's not.
But he's over 6 feet tall and big. And watching Henry Gibson physically dominate him in that moment is really disturbing.
Yeah. Not what I would expect from out of Henry Gibson, and he is surprisingly good at being sinister.
Yeah,
we're kind of at the and the wrist.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's the security guard who does the bad movie impressions. I don't even know who that was.
I don't know. I don't care. I actually think he does a pretty good Walter Brennan, but he
did a good Walter Brennan.
But the rest of them is like, oh, thank you for telling me who it is, because
otherwise
I wouldn't
that's
know.
Supposed to be Jimmy Stewart and
Barbara
Stanwyck. I mean, credit for trying Barbara Stanwyck, but
it's an Altman cast. Altman doesn't. He tends to focus a little bit more on one or two people, but there tends to be lots and lots in there. And I'm not sure if it's Altman because it's fairly early in his career. Couldn't necessarily get bigger names, or he didn't want them. He may not have.
I think, this feels very kind of grounded, very earthy.
Well, we start off with an old-timey opening. We get the hooray for Hollywood.
Yeah.
Interestingly, speaking of spoilers and giving things away, I happened to notice the movie poster and the tagline. If you've seen the film, I suppose it sort of doesn't give things away, but the tagline is "Nothing says goodbye like a bullet," which kind of is the ending, which we'll get to. Interesting to put that up there.
That's also kind of hard-boiled detective sort of thing.
Yeah,
I still like the other one. The other tagline for that movie was, "I have 2 friends. One is a cat, and the other is a murderer."
Okay, or is he?
No reason the cat couldn't also be a murderer, but.
Well, it's going to have to be since it's not going to get its favorite cat food.
Yep.
Did you see who distributed this film? It was a real surprise to me.
No, it was United Artists, wasn't it?
No, it was Lionsgate.
Oh, God.
It's like they were around in 1973?
Apparently.
Yeah, I was like, that was surprising. Very surprising. Let's get a quick... if we can, quick talk about Mr. Altman. His big film, his big introductory film was MASH, a film that it turned out a lot of people turned down, which you mentioned.
Yeah.
After that, he did a film called Brewster McCloud I never heard of.
I'd heard of it. No, never saw it. Don't know anyone who saw it.
And then a fairly big Western called The McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I think, a John Wayne film.
I think
Images,
so.
which I've never heard of. And then he did this. And Altman, I went looking through his credits. Altman has done a lot more films than I thought. I've seen a few of them, and I really...
a ton.
He has. And I'm going to say these are the films that I think are probably his best. I don't want to give away whether we think this one is or not, but The Player, excellent film.
Yep.
MASH, Shortcuts, which I really like. And Gosford Park, which is a film I think people forget because it's a murder mystery. It's a British murder mystery.
But there's a lot of mumbling.
Well, they're in various dialects, right? So we have Irish and Scottish and
fake
Mary
Scottish.
McKeithton. Did we do Gosford Park? I can't remember.
I don't think we have.
At some point we should. I really like that film because not only is it a really nothing more than a British murder in the countryside mystery, it's got some really great plot twists in it, and out of nowhere, Stephen Fry comes in and is the worst detective ever.
Oh, he's terrific. But also, this is like full of English acting royalty. You've got like 2 dames, a couple of sirs.
Yeah. And this really was the precursor to Downton Abbey because Julian Fellows, who wrote that, basically said, I've got an idea for a smashing show. And off went Downton Abbey. And he brought Maggie Smith with him.
Yep.
So... he tends to do these big ensemble casts. Later on, not in this particular film, but later on, he also will be known for having multiple plot lines running through things. So you have to really pay attention to what's going on. And he tends to favor more naturalistic situations in acting, except for Gosford Park.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. It's actually kind of a problem with listening to his dialogue, is he really likes people to sound natural. And he likes to record it that way, which often makes it just hard to understand.
Yeah.
I often have to watch his movies with subtitles.
I watched it with headphones, and it was actually fine. But to be fair, there are a lot of points where people are talking over each other, but not as much as they would be in later films. So, and something else that he does that's really interesting is he does not waste space on the screen. There is often stuff going on in the background, and sometimes with reflections that is a commentary on what's going on. And he uses the camera better than so many directors, even to this day, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, he is an artist with the camera. He is a very visual director. He's really good at that. And he's not in your face about it. It's the kind of stuff that you don't really realize you're noticing until later.
And it makes you think, and I think he's distracting you in a way. This is one scene in particular where Marlowe's out on the beach. He's been asked to go take a walk and look at the surf while the Wades have a discussion. And you can see them, but for me anyway, I was listening to them and watching Marlowe and trying to figure out
his reflection in the window.
Yeah.
And you can see him like running away from the water. He's out there in a suit and shoes.
It was really interesting. He was very experimental in that respect, but not so much that I think it alienates the audience. I don't think anyway.
Again, it's not in your face. It's much more subtle. I like the way that Marlowe is characterized in this. He's, in a lot of ways, he's a hard-boiled detective. In a lot of ways, he isn't. I like the characterization. Everybody talks to him, and most people like him automatically. And he remembers people. I like the little things like when he's in the cell, and he's listening to this obvious lunatic raving above him, and he's actually paying attention to what the guy's saying. And when he leaves, he's not like, yeah, screw you. He's like, remember, only your body's trapped in here, man. He's like, he knows how to talk to the guy.
Well, how about the guy in the supermarket?
The guy in the supermarket who he's like, it's the guy making the joke, do you have a cat? No, man, I don't need a cat. I've got a girl. And then he sees he's been arrested. And he's like, hey, they got you too? Yeah. Yeah, what'd you do? Well, my girl got busted for protesting, and I beat up the pig who had busted her.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. He definitely is. And he has to be at least somewhat successful because that's a pretty cool apartment he lives in.
Well, not according to Marty, who's just bad mouthing. So it keeps calling him cheapy, which is
I don't know.
mean.
He's got almost a private elevator, an outside private elevator. I think it's a pretty cool apartment. I'd live
he
there.
has on-site naked girls. I mean,
All right.
Come on, that's very much. Altman had a thing about hippies. They usually tend to be kind of comic figures or bad guys in some of his 70s movies.
It's not that they're hippies, it's the way he treats women in this film, which is generally not very well. So they're literally there just to show off their breasts. That's they serve no other purpose.
No, they are also there to show that they like Marlowe. He does, and it's also to show that Marlowe does favors for people. He's going out at 3 a.m. to get cat food, and they say, could you pick up some brownie mix? And he just does. He just buys them some brownie mix, doesn't take money for it. I think it's, again, to show what kind of a person he is. We have no idea who they are. They don't get names. We find out they run a candle store. That's about it.
Yeah, candles. They're lighting up something.
Yeah.
But then basically, if there's a chance to see a naked woman, he throws it in. We have one major woman character at all, and her role is not exactly pleasant, as it turns out.
Also, she's fairly passive in it. You get the feeling none of the plot that she is mixed up in was her idea.
Well, and there's questions in the end of how much she knew and how much she didn't know, and what was coming and what wasn't coming. But in general, I just didn't feel that he was being particularly kind to women in general. So, and just having naked women there to have naked women is just like, come on, really? But it is the 70s, I guess. I'm not going to excuse it, but I'm going to say he's not the only one doing it.
No, I'm not going to condemn it either, because it's also becomes a plot point. It's how he distracts Harry, the gangster.
His escape from his apartment was brilliant. I actually loved it. It was so quick and so
very
didn't
clever.
see it coming. Yeah.
Yep. I also like the way he deals with Harry. Harry, I'm proud to have you following me.
Well, here's the address in case you lose me.
Yeah, in case you lose me. And when he's there, it's like, Harry, what are you doing? You don't follow this close. Here, button up your clothes and get back in the car.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to see you. But he's manipulating the guy following him. And let's face it, everyone who works for the big bad gangster Marty Augustine is easily manipulatable, which is necessary. Although I got to say, Marty's an equal opportunity employer. He's got a Hispanic guy. He's Jewish. He's got
an Italian guy. He's got an Irish guy. Yep.
Which was really weird, but
yes, he's got humorous. Very good diversity on his team. Well done, Marty.
And then later he has a German guy, and I don't know if you caught it. Arnold, let's say, okay, Arnold hasn't had acting lessons yet. Because at one point, there's this weird scene where Marty wants everyone to strip so that Marlowe can apologize, because if you're naked, then it's sincere, whatever.
Yeah.
And he did this to the girlfriend that he mutilated, which is horrible. And Arnold's getting undressed, and there's Arnold in his underwear, and at one point, Arnold looks straight at the camera.
Yep, I did see that. The guy had no screen experience at this point.
No, he does have a mustache, though.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought he'd been drinking chocolate milk before.
It wasn't even chocolate. It was more like strawberry. Yeah. So there's Arnold. Yeah, that was a weird character, but... And I will have to say there's a scene with him that I didn't understand why Marlowe did, and that's it later in the film. He goes back to Augustine to say, yeah, I still don't have your money. And I'm like, why did you do that?
Oh, no, he says he didn't choose to do that. They brought him. He said, I didn't really have a choice.
Oh, I didn't get the impression they brought him. But
he explicitly says that. Yeah, it's a throwaway line.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go there.
I wish it had been a little clearer.
Especially not carrying the $5,000 bill that apparently Terry sent him that was apparently from Augustine's money. So that's the whole thing, is Terry ran off with $355,000 of Augustine's money.
Right.
And by the way, yes, there is such a thing as a $5,000 bill, and yes, James Madison is on it.
Well, there was a 5 and a 10, but they were only meant for bank transfers.
Bank transfers, yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that there was any out in circulation is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Initially, it feels very much like your average noir plot. Oh, here's my friend. He wants to get out of town. He's got scratches on his face, which means he's Alt Kirk, not Loogie Kirk. Oh, I'm sorry.
He's got bruises on his knuckles. That was
yeah.
the
So
thing.
we see this and we're like, oh, something bad happened. He shows up. He wants to get out of town. We assume, because we know he's got a wife because they're talking and they're old friends, that he's probably killed his wife. And he goes to Mexico. And the next thing we know, the cops show up and say, hey, where's your friend? He killed his wife. And Marlowe's like, no, he would never have done that. And we assume, as these things usually go, that there's going to be this big twist and we're going to find out who really did it. I don't know, but have you seen this before?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you remember from your first time. I was starting to lean towards Eileen because she was the only other major character. But it's
had
like
a connection with everybody. Yeah, I was wondering about that too. The plot twist threw me the first time I saw it. It was pretty surprising for me.
yeah, and spoiler,
Yeah, big spoiler.
Marlowe figures out what must have happened by pretty much process of elimination because he didn't know there was any money involved. Once the money comes into it, now things are starting to make a little bit more sense. And he does initially. Yeah, he initially goes down to Mexico to talk to the coroner because apparently, this guy, his friend, committed suicide, Terry. Mm-hmm. And he's like, really? 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 And he's like, all right, well, here's the photos. There he is dead. I guess, that must be the way it is. And when he talks to Marty, it seems like, look, the guy killed himself. What do you want me to do? I don't know what happened. There's no other. I didn't remember seeing 2 suitcases because it was such a tiny detail. It's exactly the way you would encounter. When you saw your friend last, did they have 2 suitcases?
How would I know? Yeah.
And so you're waiting for all right, who really did it? Big spoiler. It turns out that he's not guilty by reason of having committed the crime.
Yeah. Terry is the master criminal. He did kill his wife.
Yep.
He took the money and he faked his suicide so no one would come after him.
Yeah. And it's only at the very end that and I think it's literally process of elimination. He's like, well, we see Roger Wade commit suicide, which quite honestly, we kind of are waiting for that to happen. We know that Eileen didn't kill him. We know that there was an affair between Roger and Terry's wife. We assume Eileen knew about it. That's why I thought, well, maybe she killed her. But finally, there's nobody left because she sells the apartment and leaves town. And then when he's seeing Marty, there's a knock on the door. Who is it? Oh, it's the plot device. It's here for you. The money shows up out of nowhere.
That part I still don't understand. Why did the money show up? Why
she brought it?
Why? Terry had gotten away with it. He could have. Oh no, that's right. He wanted to give it back because he knew Augustine would never give up.
Well, and she liked Marlowe.
Maybe. I still think it's just once he got his money back, Terry knew that Augustine would leave him alone. He wouldn't care whether he was alive or not.
And that could be it, too, because as it turns out, Eileen was having an affair with Terry, and she ends up going to Mexico.
That's the other question I don't understand. At the end, when Marlowe confronts him, because he goes down to Mexico, he finds him by bribing the police commandant and the coroner with the $5,000 bill.
But he doesn't because they give it back. Like, he can't spend that bill. He tries to give it away twice and nobody will take it.
I'm absolutely positive they take it. I mean, the way they're talking. Yeah,
except we see them push it back. We see them push it back.
But it stays on the seat.
The way we see it.
They take it. And he's saying it's charity. I think they take it. But Terry says, I've now got more money than Wade or Augustine. How? What he sent back $350,000. Where does he get his money?
Eileen.
Oh, okay.
Because he was a very successful writer. Look at their house. They're in Malibu, right on the beach.
But he says, I have more money than Wade did.
And I'm going to, because he's got her money and he's got the $350,000.
But he doesn't. He gave it back. Or do you think he doesn't know?
I don't think he knows.
Oh, okay.
Because he probably has the physical $350,000, and she just took the money from her and Wade's cash pile, or from the sale of the house and gave it to.
You think so? That's all right. That's making a lot of assumptions. I didn't think that. Okay.
Well, you're assuming they took the $5,000, so I can assume this.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes sense because I don't think Terry would have let go of the money. Because let's face it, Terry has proven that he's kind of shallow, what little we know about him.
Oh, and he's incredibly selfish. What is that? That line, it's just kind of heartbreaking. Marlowe just says very matter-of-factly, so you used me. And Terry says, hey, man, what are friends for?
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
I think there's also, I know we're running out of time. There's some really interesting symbolism that I don't think was planned. Like when we go to Mexico for the last time, there's a shot of two dogs.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure that's planned because he friggin' zooms in on it.
I don't know let's put it this way. I don't know if it was planned, but it was definitely meant. We're meant to see
someone's
sex
getting screwed.
Yes, and also sex as a motivator in this film may have a very high priority. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of things in the background. Like when you're watching the action, there's almost always something going on in the background. At one point, we're in the house that's being sold, and the people who are packing stuff away find a little bottle of scotch and like, well, that'll go in my box. And I think he's trying to comment on humanity at every turn and not just through the characters. And it's actually pretty interesting.
There's also that strange bit he's been trying to talk to Eileen. He gets hit by a car. He ends up in the hospital. They put him in the same room as this guy who's practically mummified. And when he's leaving, the guy gives him a mini harmonica and insists he takes it.
I initially thought, is that going to end up being Terry somehow? But because you feel like it's going to have all these twists. And again, spoiler, I think that's one of the things that's cool about this film is you're expecting this twist, you're expecting the twist, and in a way, there isn't any.
No. Sort of at the end, but it's like, it's not really a twist because you get there along with Marlowe. As Marlowe's figuring it out, so do you.
Yeah. But is it done well? That's the question. And is a film from 1973, is it a noir, really? And does the color hurt it? And does it really hold up? I don't know. Are you at the end of your notes?
Yeah, pretty much.
The finish.
So, Max.
Yo.
Do you remember when you first saw it?
I saw this on videotape, I think back in the 80s.
Okay.
And I think I may have actually watched this on TV with my mother.
Ah, so much of it was cut out.
Yes, I think a lot of it was. But I remember thinking, this is just wild. And I'd never seen Elliott Gould like this, and the ending just blew me away.
You too, you and Terry both.
Yes, yeah, big spoiler here.
Yeah.
Yeah, shall we say it?
I think we just did.
Yeah. Basically, Marlowe, Terry's just lying in his hammock like, yeah, I win, I got everything, and you're just a total loser. And Marlowe just looks at him and says, yeah, I even lost my cat. And then he shoots him.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's a perfect crime. He's already dead.
Yeah.
He can't be prosecuted. He's legally dead. Not to mention, Eileen, who shows up or is about to find the body. What is she going to say? Yes, he murdered the guy who murdered. Nope. Everything would come out. And it's the only time we see Marlowe with a gun. Yep. It's the only time he does any. That's why this is so strange as a film noir kind of hard-boiled detective thing. He never throws a punch. He never does. He shoots one person, and it's the last person you'd think. But I remember it, and I think it holds up. I think it's really good. It's very surprising. I do think it's film noir because it's a pretty bleak ending in a lot of ways. What about you? Had you ever seen this?
Nope. Never seen it. I actually got it confused title-wise with The Goodbye Girl. So I'm thinking that it was a light-hearted comedy romp sort of thing. Of course, it has Elliott Gould. Why would I think it was a hard-boiled detective story? So when it came up as one of the choices, like, really? Is that going to be a... And then I started watching, and I didn't know it was an Altman film either. And Altman doesn't generally do comedy.
No.
Tends not to be his thing. And this is the beginning of a period in American film where things started, like you talked about the color being washed out. That was going to be a thing through the 70s. That stark reality thing. So when he's in the jail in the beginning of the film, when he's been taken in for being a part of the disappearance of his friend Terry, The police station feels very real to me. Like, if they used a real police station, it would not surprise me at all.
It's dirty, it's gritty, it's awful.
I mean, it makes Barney Miller's, 13th Precinct actually look a little bit clean, which is hard to do.
Yep.
But we're going to get films like The French Connection and Godfather and stuff all around this time period where the color starts getting washed out. Things get a lot more, quote-unquote, realistic and gritty. Mm-hmm. And I think it's done with real panache. I like Altman. I have not seen that many of his films, but the ones I've seen I've really liked. I don't mind the people talking over people and that realistic aspect. I love the way he uses the camera, and so that there's always something going. Sometimes it's a compare and contrast, like you can see one thing, but you're listening to another. I didn't see the ending coming at all. Yeah. In a way, he tricked us because he's like, oh, you're going to try and sit there and figure out what the twist is. Where's the twist? Well, the twist is there isn't. And I think I'm glad that I didn't know it ahead of time, which is why Max warned us. Mm-hmm. But I still think if I watched it again, there's a lot of enjoyable performances. The dubbing is terrible. I hate the overdubbing. If you're not watching with headphones, you may not notice, but it's just it's an artifact of the 70s. It's just most of the early Bond films are the same way. They're terrible.
But I think Gould's performance is terrific in this.
I think it's a noir, and it's not something that's like. And I never saw this because it looked cheesy as hell. The Man with Bogart's Face. It's not something that's trying to be in the 40s but shot in the 70s. Mm-hmm. It's taking noir and it's really moving it up to that present day of 1973. It's still got all the trappings, but they don't feel anachronistic, right? It's certainly got the lack of happy ending. And I actually really appreciate the characters, the way he chooses to end the story, and that is he does not in any way, shape, or form try to stop Eileen as he passes her in the Jeep.
Nope, he doesn't even look at her.
Doesn't try to get the girl. None of that. It's like, nope, I'm done. And my feeling is that in the end, above all else, Marlowe's like, there has to be some justice in the world, and if this is how it happens, this is how it happens.
Yep.
And that's what he does. And that's about as noir as you can get, I think. So
there's no law, there's no right or wrong, but there is justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we lucked out. First two films of this series, and I think they've both been great.
Absolutely. I think they've been terrific.
But you know what else is great?
Really good. What?
Your poll question for next week.
Why, thank you. Oh, do you think I should read it again? Do you think it's that good?
Yes. Lying.
Lying. So for next week, we'd like you to tell us, do you think film noir works better with black and white movies, or does color just not make a difference? And you can answer this question, as our new poll question answerer did, Mr. Dalton McGrath, by emailing us at maxmikemovies.com. Be like Dalton. You can also go to our website, maxmikemovies.com, and leave a comment. You can find us on Facebook under Max Mike Movies. We post the question there. You can answer there. You can also scream it at a passing carrier pigeon, which would be remarkable as they're extinct. So don't scream at them if you see them. And of course, you can find us in general on the podcast app of our choice, not yours. It's our choice. It's a hard, dark, black and white world out there.
No, it's not. And we don't have a choice because they pick us up all the time. So stop that.
Okay. But we aren't even halfway into Walk the Dark Street. So what street are we walking darkly next week, Mike?
Well, I thought that we would walk the dark streets of Paris. Somewhere far away. Somewhere very noir. No.
Oh.
To quote Marcel Marceau, no.
That is a quote. Yes.
I thought that we would take a look at the place, the country that the...
Put that Galois out, please. Oh,
the country where the word noir comes from in the first place, yeah?
Germany.
No, that would... 9? French, is it? No, I would like to actually look at a foreign film, something we don't do nearly enough. Mostly
I don't like foreign films. They're not made in America.
Funny that. 200 58 previous episodes. No, I would like to look at a French noir film that is not from the period. We're still in the new noir, although new in this point is 40 some odd years ago. But I would like to see a film. It's about a young man and an opera singer called Diva. It is very much considered a French or a noir film, but it is France. It is from Francais. No, it's from France, Francois. Whatever. It is French. Just listen to me. Have a fry, sit down, have coffee.
There's a lot of cheese in it, I'm guessing.
No, but it is, how you say, it looks at life, it looks at the darker things, it is like savoir-faire, it is everywhere. So be everywhere with us.
Will it surrender to us immediately?
Be with us next week with some cheese and some wine and listen to us talking about Diva.
This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.